should
Book
do.
of Face.
It should. We should be live on the Book of Face.
We should
very
be
soon.
live on the Book of Face.
It's saying live stream offline. Oh, live stream's coming online now. So I think we're online on YouTube at least. Haha.
Okay. Well, I don't see us here. Oh, wait. Here we are. Live videos.
Look at that.
There we
Would
are.
you believe
Yay. Okay.
we laugh in the face of the Mercury retrograde.
Oh, God.
Haha.
All right. Well, we do look so cute dressed alike, don't we?
This is our corporate gear. What are you talking about? It's
corporate
corporate wear.
All right.
It's our corporate wear.
Well, we thought we would come on Facebook Live tonight
Yes.
and talk to you a little bit about our upcoming class called Coming Home to the Craft of the Wise.
Coming home to the craft of the wise.
So it is a year and a day course. You come one Sunday a month, every single month
That's right.
for a year.
And a
then
day.
after that, you get to do a personal dedication with the people who graduate from your class. So we wanted to put together a course that was pretty encompassing of all the teachings of what we call the Stuart tradition.
Yes.
It's our tradition. It is traditional Wicca, and we call ourselves Welsh Celtic Wiccans because we do follow the gods and goddesses and the mythology of the Mabinogi.
That'd be this one.
That'd be this book here. So we just thought we'd come on and kind of talk to you about the things that would go on in the class or the items that are included in the class to kind of get you a little bit excited and have you sign up, because we are looking, of course, for people who are looking for us. So the first class is about the history of Wicca, isn't it?
It is. It is.
So you get...
It is. We should actually put some slides up, actually, because we've got a whole keynote that goes with this fun stuff.
Oh, right. Well, you could do that, I suppose.
Well, I
But
can't.
you get to learn about people who are
Who would be this person
like the
then?
movers and shakers of the craft. So this is Gerald Gardner.
Oh, the very
We,
same.
we talk about Gerald's high priestesses, Patricia Crowther. Certainly we talk a lot about Doreen Valiente. We talk about people like Robert Cochran. All kinds of people who have played a part in the history of Wicca.
So,
And then,
before we get too deep into going through the syllabus, we should try and tell people why we're doing it. Don't you think?
oh, go ahead.
I think we should. So, a lot of people really look for a good, you know us, we run the awareness shop as well. And there's not a day goes by when somebody doesn't come in asking for a really good book to make a start on Wicca, to really get to know it. And, you know, the wonderful thing about the internet is, as well, you know, you can't actually put anything on there that isn't true. So a lot of people have sort of been trying to find out stuff, and there's lots of conflicting information pretty much everywhere. So we felt that as we've been doing sort of training for quite a while, that it might be a good idea to actually make a really good cohesive course. And if you'll excuse the blatant plug, in I think it's April 9th coming up, we have our own book coming out.
Called Simply Wicca.
Yes, A Guide to the Craft of the Wise.
Guide to the Craft of the Wise.
So,
But that's not the book that we use in the course.
no, it isn't the book that we use in the course, oddly enough. But
Pussycats.
probably that was bound to happen eventually.
All right, so we have a lovely little black-footed puss whose name is Emmett.
Damn
But
it.
as you can see, he thinks his name is Dammit. And this is the kind of things that he does all the time. He
trash
just
the joint
trashes
as
things.
best as possible. So.
Anyway, so we want to send you home with the tools and the understanding of Wicca. So the first class is a history about the movers and the shakers.
Yes.
And then you go home with your binder, a book called The Heart of Wicca by Ellen Cannon Reed. This is included in the class. And this we use for our book club, so you're expected to read it cover to cover and be able to discuss things that are in it. You get our CD, Circle in a Box.
Which doesn't suck.
And this has an entire ritual to music, how to consecrate the circle, cast the circle, call the quarters, call the god and goddess. It has chalice and blade, and it has a section in there for magical meditation or craft work, and that you could use for either sabbats or aspets. And then it does all the closings and thank yous. So this is a companion that you can use when we're not together. So after the introduction, then we do an hour's ritual, and that ritual helps you to kind of get acquainted with the with ritual itself, because many people who have come have only been solitaries.
That's true, yeah.
But we
Very,
have
very true.
held circle at the shop, well, since 1995, and at the location we're in now since 1997. And we've grown so much that instead of just holding sabbats and full moons, we now hold circle every Friday. So we have waning, waxing, new, full, and sabbats. So we hold about 50 gatherings a year, because I think there are two. We don't hold the Friday after Thanksgiving, and sometimes we don't hold the Friday after.
If it falls very close to 4th of July, we may skip that
Yeah.
one too, because, people like vacation.
So there's the introduction,
Yes.
and you will, of course, get ritual in there. So it kind of goes like a 2-hour lecture, an hour's ritual, and an hour book discussion. So lesson 2 is all about the wheel of the year, isn't it?
It is. It is the wheel of the year, which are the 8 spokes on the wheel, and the wheel itself are sabbats and what we do with them.
And we talk about the sabbats being one continual wheel and not just 8 separate holidays. And we
Yeah.
talk about the greater and lesser sabbats. And we do little things to help you remember why the sabbats are named what they are, and what their place is on the wheel, and how to honor them and turn the wheel.
Indeed. And so then when we get to lesson 3...
Okay, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, it's all right.
No, please, dive in.
And again,
I talk too much.
you with that Wheel of the Year workshop, there's a ritual that goes along with it. So we do something called a seed to blossom ritual, which kind of helps you understand how the wheel evolves and how your life reflects the wheel, and how the wheel becomes part of your life and you become part of the wheel, and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, sorry. Now, why don't you talk about lesson 3?
Sure.
That's
well,
your
lesson
territory there.
3 covers really... We follow a Welsh Celtic pantheon, as Lisa was saying, and this really explains Welsh mythology, where it comes from, how it got there, how Celtic actually grew, the lands of Celtic actually grew until the Romans came and sort of kind of tried to push everybody into
Romans.
sea, bless them. But yeah, we look into the history of the Mabinogi, how that came about, and the heroes and gods and goddesses of the Mabinogi, and we talk about we really don't go too deep because we've only got 2 hours in this particular class, but it does get to story time at the end, doesn't it? We actually run through all 4 branches quick. So,
And then we never have time for the book discussion at the end. But
we do.
no. And then included in the course is Sonny Davies's Mabinogi, so you get that. You also get a journal, a book to put down your crazy experiences, your weirdnesses, and all that good
Do you think
stuff.
people are going to have weird experiences?
That's not nice.
Siri thinks I called her weird, apparently.
I love it.
I love Mercury retrograde, don't you? It's so much fun.
See, that's my fault for poking fun at it.
So
'cause
when
got everything
when we do
covered.
the Mabinogi, that ritual is a guided meditation to meet Caradwyn and Gwynepne. Like I said, we usually run out of time for book club at the end of that. Then the next lesson is
It's only a small one.
yeah,
this.
it's like half a book here. This is the moon, the 8 phases of the moon, and we layer the moon's phases onto the wheel of the year, so you can start to understand that the new moon and Yule have similar characteristic, and that the full moon and Litha have similar characteristic. We talk about the moon being the goddess, and the sun being the god, and the goddess being the reflection, and how we know that The moon is full in the opposite sign of the sun, and the moon is new in the same sign of the sun. We
There's
make
some
people's
really good stuff in
head
this
bleed
class.
with astrology and a little scientific diagram. And then also included in here are the Ogham, which are Irish names for the Ogham
They exist
that
in
we
Wales
use.
too.
They do exist in Wales, and we teach the 13 tree lunations as well as the Sabbat trees. So this one is a really big one, and we of course do a journey to the trees for this class, and then you have some homework to do there.
This is awesome.
Then
It's elementary, my dear witchling. So we get into the elements at this point then, which is an amazing thing. And certainly now you've had a look at sort of the Sabbats and the Esbats, and now you can see the elemental sort of involvement of everything, and it all sort of starts to fit together very well. You're starting to get a good idea of how everything's coming. Somebody joining in? Somebody saying hello? Or is
no,
it just
I don't.
you're just looking at me going like
I
this?
don't see any comment.
I don't see any
I looked
comments.
before and I was afraid to touch anything because I thought it was going to dump me off. I was going to start a watch party, but I'm afraid to touch anything.
Well, what are you going to
So
do?
I'm just going to,
What's the worst that can happen?
I don't know, tear a hole in the space continuing. Oh, look, start a watch party.
All right, so something's going on now. Let's see what's going on.
All right.
So I'll keep talking anyway. If you give me that, here we go.
All right,
So,
I
folks,
think it worked now.
So she's starting a watch party. So this is really good.
All
So
right,
yes,
there you go.
lesson 5 is all about the elements, which is really good. Oh, there you go. There's people now joining us. That's marvelous. So we've probably been talking to ourselves for about half an hour.
Who knows? Anyway.
I don't know, 10 minutes anyway.
All right,
what
so
do you know?
lesson 5, the elements.
So- yes.
We talk about the elements, the elementals,
Yes.
the watchtowers,
Yes.
and then we do a journey to meet your hidden helpers.
Which is pretty darn cool.
And in
one.
that class, you get a little kit that has something for your altar for each of the elements.
Oh, yes,
so,
you do.
there are a lot of things besides what's just here on the table. Candles, and I forgot to say that in the first class you get a crystal that you journey with, and that's
Yeah.
going to be your kind of Awen crystal for inspiration. There's so many things that you get over the course. We're hoping that some of the people who have taken it before
Be nice
will
if
give us a little bit of a review for it. So we've had oh gosh, I'm trying to think now how many
Of course,
people have gone.
2's just about to graduate in another
Right, so
month,
we're on our
and
we're on our third
halfway
round.
through the third course.
I think it's close to 40 people altogether
Right.
that have come on, but not everybody
Makes it to the end.
makes it to the end. It
That's for
doesn't
sure.
speak to everybody, or they thought it was a get rich quick. I'll
Yeah.
I'll just take this class and they'll give me a
Excuse me.
badge and I'll be a high priest or high priestess. But it really is not your get rich quick class. You're going to take this for a year and a day. You're going to work on the wheel of the year, astrology, astronomy, the moon, the Mabinogi, how to do ritual. It's going to be transformative for you, and then you're going to dedicate at the end of that. So it really is probably too slow for some people,
Oh, I don't
but
know.
there's an intense amount of information, and a lot of the people who take the class at the end of that 2-hour lecture, they just kind of look at us and go, yeah, another data dump. So that's lesson 5, the elements.
The wonderful thing is, though, you're not in this by yourself. There's we
No,
have
you'll
a
have
message board as well.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah, which we haven't mentioned yet, where people who are participating in the course, and in fact, everybody who's been through it, everybody who's completed that lesson, still has access to it. Because we always say that when you set out on this path, you're responsible for those that follow you, that are behind you. We've taken an oath to preserve the path, and that's entirely what we're doing. And we try and impress upon people that it's not, anybody who's sort of gone first, hey, watch out for that pothole there, or there's a low-hanging branch. This is the sort of thing that we do to try and help people along. But understand also that it's your own personal journey, that nobody can have that journey for you. It's and you will go at the pace that you go at. I mean, some people like to run along, other people like to perhaps travel a little slowly, but I promise it is not about the destination.
No, there's
It
so
is
much to
oh, yeah.
digest and understand. And you'd really kind of be cheating yourself if you didn't give yourself that aha moment or that time to write down things in your journal and kind of look back at it later on.
There are no shortcuts.
So
They just
lesson
come.
6 is about magical timing.
Yes, indeed.
Magical timing and the basics of astrology and how to use astrology in spell casting. Practical advice for magical workings. And we do a ritual meditation to release past hurts with that one.
I wish we could release these pussycats.
They're having
I'm
mad
gonna-
moments.
If you see the camera just go blam,
Bang.
you'll know what's happened. So,
All right.
and they'll be living in the barn after that.
Class 7, Tools of the Craft.
Ah, yes,
That's,
tools.
again, a huge one. And with that class, you actually get a cord, and we consecrate them in the class, and we talk about cord magic and not magic and
If it's not magic, what is it?
not magic.
Ah,
And
I was joking.
it's just a really fascinating way that we explain each one of the tools. So, of course, all the tools have elemental rulerships, and there is a Pearls of Wisdom on our YouTube channel
There
if
is?
you want to kind of get an introduction for what that class might be about.
It's only an introduction, though.
Lesson 8.
Oh, yes, more about magic, ciphers, chakras, crystals, chanting, and more. It's quite a small one, this.
So, yeah, in that class, you get a set of witches' runes.
Yes.
And everybody learns how to divine with them.
Yes. Is it?
I think so.
Was that a divination class? I
Oh,
can't
maybe.
remember.
No, I don't know.
I haven't got a clue anymore. We'll figure it out as we go. But this is all about ciphers and magical
Ciphers, crystals, raising energy, chanting, all that kind of stuff's
all
in
that
there.
stuff. And yes,
Color
color
magic,
energy, yes, and
The
yeah,
chakras,
there's some good stuff in here.
you know, the tarot for spell work and meditation is in there, the major arcana of the tarot.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things in there. But
good-
it talks
good
about
lesson.
like having your own language, your own cipher. It talks about magical alphabets. It talks about if I want to do prosperity magic, and I know that that's a very kind of Venus energy, and Venus is connected to heart chakra, then maybe I should charge the items for my magic at heart center because that's connected to the planet that's connected to prosperity. See what I mean? Downloads.
Kind of cool.
All
Kinda
right.
Cool. Then we get into
Oh, this is really cool.
so
class
this
9.
is that's where you get your things.
Oh, there.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
one ahead of ourselves.
All right.
So this lesson 9 is wand making, the magical wand in theory and practice. We actually get to make wands here. So we found a wonderful source of beautiful.
He grows them purposely for coppicing for wands, and he has the honeysuckle
Yep,
that grows
up.
around them, so they have spirals on them.
They've got that focusing spiral, which is fantastic. So, yeah, this is wonderful class. Yeah, we have touch wood. We haven't had anybody lose a finger yet, but there are sharp tools in this class. So.
Right. So we're saying that in addition to the binder, almost 250 pages of handouts, 2 books, circle in a box, an athame, a cord, a wand, the little box that you get for your altar. There's still other goodies that we haven't talked about. So it's really a pretty inexpensive course when you think about all the things that you get.
Shockingly good value.
All right, so
All right.
you get to hand make a real wand.
A real wand. A real
And
wand.
Of course,
yes.
we have a consecration ceremony for that.
We do.
Consecrate like on like
There
with
you
that.
go.
Divination theory and practice, an introduction to the arts of tarot. The witches' runes are in this one. A meditation to program your runes, and everybody does group divination.
Excuse me.
And the tarot for spell work must have been in the other one. And we have some really cool ritual
Oh yeah,
that
this is
day.
a good one. Yeah.
And we quote Doreen's poetry and charge the runes. So that one's a really neat class. And then
11.
class 11, because by the time you get 11 months in, the craft is really starting to become a big part of your life, and you know, you realize that it is a way of life. So we included kitchen witchin and hearth magic to help people understand again that their actions are kind of flowing out into everything. We talk about incense making, how to create a sacred space, how the hearth of your home is very important. We talk about foods and food groups, the doctrine of signatures. Oh my gosh, there's all kinds of things in here.
It's basically, how to take the mundane and make it magical.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful because that's the idea, isn't it?
All
Lead a
right.
magical life.
And then class 12, that one's a really cool one.
Ooh, yes, indeed.
We talk about choosing a magical name, and we talk about ritual writing. Many of the people who go through the class will continue to come to our Friday night gatherings, and they will follow that ritual. And then other people who take the class, they're taking it because they really want to be more solid as a solitary practitioner. So we talk all about how to write a ritual, the outline of a ritual, why you would do things in a certain order, what speaks to you. We talk about deities and pantheons and how to align with them, and how important choosing a magical name really is, and that names have power and words have power. And in this class, we also talk a lot more about ethics too.
Ah, yes, ethics. Ethics are important.
Again, not your get rich quick. And
No, because you're a year in now.
and
almost,
then
aren't
we,
you?
we help people write their dedication, choose their magical name and write their dedication. And then the following month, which is your day, year in a day, you would come for the dedication ritual. So you'd stand before the altar, make your pledge to whatever deity it is that you've chosen.
No.
Boom. And what's this over here by you?
Oh, and you get a robe.
You get a black
This is
robe, right?
beautiful
So-
black robe. So
Yeah.
so you've got there
And
as
an
well.
athame, right? You get a
Athame you don't get
ritual
until
knife. You
dedication.
get that at dedication.
Yeah.
You're also going to get a pouch to hang on your cord. And what's this here?
It's a little, apparently a little pentacle to
pentacle?
wear. So there
Right.
you go.
So that's pretty cool. You'd be all kitted out. You'd have your robe, your cord, your athame, your pentacle, some divination tools, a recorded ritual if you wanted to follow that. You could always follow that if you didn't want to write your own. And the year and a day classes are starting again in April. So get on over to the Facebook events page and click on that event, and so you could see the outline if you want, or give us a call, 845-255-5756, and join in the next group.
Yeah, and here's the good news. So a lot of people asked us, well, how can we join in?
This is big time.
How can we join in if I live in California or Seattle or England? How do I do that? Well, this last course that we've got, course 3, we actually trialed a couple of ways of doing that, and we found something that works beautifully. So it's done via an online classroom now. The only commitment that you need to make is obviously you don't need to come all the way to New York to actually join in, but you would need to be available during the hours of the class. So it's on a Sunday
From 1
and
to 5
1
Eastern
to 5
Standard.
Eastern, well, Eastern Daylight, Eastern Standard, but one to
Oh yeah,
1 to
because we're going
5.
into daylight savings, aren't we?
And that's it. So if you're in England, you're going to be either 4 or 5 hours ahead, depending on time of year. If you're going to be in California, you're going to be 3 hours behind us. But you can certainly join in.
And it is a 4-hour workshop. It's a 2-hour lecture, 1-hour ritual, and 1-hour book discussion. And that book discussion is very valuable too. A lot of really great questions are asked and things are brought up from the heart of Wicca.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, right now we have 2 people on the course from England. And then we also had someone who had to have surgery, so they were able to Zoom in for the class that they were going to miss for the month.
Yeah. And it works really well. If somebody's poorly and can't come to class, or
You don't want to be
just,
exposed to the
keep
tummy
it yourself.
virus. Yeah.
Keep it yourself. If for whatever reason there's horrendously bad weather and we've got an ice storm or something,
We can
that gives
still-
us the ability to do that. And you also then have access to Lisa and I via this sort of online. It's the best way. It's almost like a tutorial. It's a face-to-face chat. We can share our screen. We can show you diagrams and all that sort of stuff. And
you'll be part of
and
the
it's-
group that's
yeah.
going through. You'll hear their questions. You can ask questions.
Yep, they can hear you. And
So that's worked
it's-
out really well. Yeah.
It's really good, and you don't need anything fancy in the way of equipment to do it. We use a bit of software called Zoom, which is entirely free. Free for you guys who are joining into the course. You can download it entirely for free, but it works on anything: laptop, regular desktop computer. Doesn't matter whether it's Mac or Windows.